Good afternoon, MACUL SIG admin team. I have a special guest for you today. You've seen him before at many other MACUL conferences. He's a good friend of mine, and I enjoy the fact that I can call him a friend. He's a co-author of one of my favorite books, which I'm sure he's going to touch on as well. But coming to you live is our friend, one of our favorites, Mr. Thomas Murray. Thomas, how you doing?
Well, I'm waiting for who you're going to introduce here. You said one of your, like, a special guest. So I'm looking around the room and it's just the two of us hanging out. So I'm not sure who else you're going to introduce there. It's awesome to be with you, my friend. I love the great state of Michigan, and I'm so excited to be coming to MACUL here in just a couple of weeks. So good to connect.
Definitely. And so knowing that you're going to be here in, I think it's 4 Mondays, I'm pretty much a month away is MACUL. Knowing that you've been to the conference several times, share your experiences of coming to the conference and the impact that it has had on you and how you feel that you have an impact on coming.
Great. Absolutely. So first of all, for perspective, I probably get to about 40 to 50 conferences in a given year. I don't say that pridefully. I just say that as a matter of perspective. I get to see a lot. I get to do a lot and be in a lot of different places. And I can honestly say on camera here on video, MACUL is absolutely one of my favorites. Part of the reason is there's number one, it's great people, like any conference, and there's great people at every conference. It's about the people, the networking that happens there, the connections that happen there, but the opportunities to learn and to lead from each other. So anybody that's coming, if they're going to be coming to the conference, my challenge for you is, so what? In the sense of, what are you going to do with it? What I love about MACUL is I always find practical things. And even though I come as a speaker, I get to sit in certain sessions, connect with other people that I'm even taking away to bring back to my work and implement. So my challenge for those folks watching is, what are you going to do with what you take away? Because if it's going somewhere, having a couple great days, and then nothing changes, that's the definition of a waste of time. So for me, though, MACUL's been a fabulous conference to go to, with great keynote speaker, great spotlight sessions that make us laugh, that tap some emotion, that have lots of fun, but also push thinking in the process. And that's super important for me. I know I got to connect with the MACUL admin. I think I was coming in from a red-eye flight. I think I wasn't looking so good and like ripped jeans and rolled in. And I think it was Ben Gilpin that said, hey, you're on a panel. And so if you were a part of that, I apologize, because I don't remember one word that I said. And I'm not even sure if I was awake during it. It was kind of like a Gribble presentation, you know? I was probably sleeping throughout it. So anyway, so I've been there a whole bunch of times, and I am super fired up to come back this year.
And I think it's something that you stressed on there, Thomas. I think it's something that as building district leaders, that's something that we want to talk about, is that return on the investment. I mean, districts are using money to send admin teachers, sending people to these conferences. And I know you touch on it with your book that you did with Eric of Learning to Transform. Is that return on an investment? Is what's the point of us sending you there if you're not going to be bringing it back and growing from that? That's the purpose of going to these conferences, because again, we're constantly learning, we're constantly growing. But the one thing I love about MACUL is the MACUL conference is there's stuff that you can do tomorrow after this conference. But there's the change thinking, there's the, I mean, to use the buzzword, there's so much innovation going on. But to come back and go back on Monday and share with your peers, share with your teaching team, going, check this out, this is cool, and it's going to have an impact on kids and their learning. So I think that's great that you touched on that.
Yeah, you know, I see it in twofold. One, if I'm an attendee of the conference, I think it's my responsibility to go back to my district and to share what I've learned. I think we can do ourselves a disservice as educators if we go to a conference and kind of keep it all to ourselves, because the district's going to start asking at times, well, what did we invest that money in? So the more that we bring it back and share it out and make people around us better and share opportunities and resources and things with them, and we're really proud of that kind of work, I think the more districts are willing to say, yeah, there was that return on investment. The flip side in Learning Transformed, where we call it return on instruction, taking a look, one of the questions that I'd have throughout is, if I'm a conference attendee or if I'm a presenter at the conference, which, hey, I'm going to be this year as well, what is it from a learning end, and what does it really bring back to the learning side? Here's what I mean by that. And I didn't just say that well, but let me kind of rephrase that. It's so easy to go to any conference and get all jazzed up about some sort of digital tool or some tool or app that's a game changer, like GAG. When we think about it, like when it comes down to it, what's the actual impact on learning? Because we can be 100% digital, 100% online, 100% digital content, and 100% low level learning. And so let's be careful not to get all jazzed up about the latest tool, the latest trend, the latest buzz on social media. Let's focus on the learning piece, because at a conference like MACUL, I love being able to see the great things focused on learning, but let's not lose sight of why we do what we do and why we're having the conversations we're having.
Well, and again, you said it, the technology is the tool. And how are you using that tool to open a child's eyes to learning, or have a different view of, or a different scope on their individual learning? So that's a key point. So with that, leading into my next question, what areas do you see that teachers or educators need more support with using educational technology?
Yeah. So, one of the things I find that we do all the time, and when I say that, I'm even talking about myself and my own failures when I was a principal or a tech director, whatever the case might be. We often tell teachers, it can't look like it used to. We can't teach the old-fashioned way. We don't want to do that anymore. And we don't really show them what it can be, should be, and what it is. So we can't just tell teachers not to teach like we've taught in the past. We need to show them examples related to, here's what we're talking about. When we're talking about infusing technology at deeper levels of learning, this is what it can look like for your grade level, or those kinds of things. So lots of great professional learning going on around the country, and a lot of things have shifted there, but showing teachers what it actually looks like. I don't think teachers fear change. I think teachers fear the unknown in that change. And so who can blame them? Teachers are prideful in their work and they want to do a great job. Every educator that I know wants to do a good job, but they want to show them what it can look like to help reduce some of that fear factor. The other pieces that I would focus on is really the focus of the work that I do. So maybe it's a selfish response, but I really believe it. Leadership and school culture lay the foundation for whether future-ready schools, it's our first key in learning transformed. And so what do teachers need? They need a culture of risk-taking, because if in a culture of fear and in a toxic environment, teachers aren't going to take those risks. And honestly, who can blame them? So they need principals that will try and they will model things. And when they fail, they will own it as principals, move forward and model how to deal with failure to the teachers, just like we want the teachers to do for the kids. So they need a culture where they can take risks. They need a culture of accountability and high expectations. And sometimes that has a negative connotation, and I don't mean it at all. That the expectation is that every adult in the building will pour their heart into other people's kids all day long. And so what do they need? They need that support. They need that culture so that they can take risks. They need the professional learning to get it done. So for principals and district leaders, it's our opportunity and our job to model the expectations we're looking for. How do I run my faculty meetings? How do I run my in-service days? They're all examples and models for what we can do to model for teachers their expectations in the classroom. The more we model for teachers, the more we'll get what we're expecting from them.
You hit it right on the head, partner, and I agree with everything that you said. And when you have that administrator that's willing to take those risks, they're that person out front going, look, I'm taking these risks, and you know what? It didn't work. Let's sit down and let's talk about what didn't work, why didn't it work, what can we do next? But having that support and having the understanding that I'm willing to take risks and there's no fallout for me trying to take that risk. Going to your administrator and say, hey, you know what? I really want to try this out. Can you come in and give me some feedback on, not come in and evaluate me on this. Give me some feedback on this, and let's sit down and let's talk afterwards. Like, how did it go? What would you do differently? Having those critical conversations to coach them through that process. And I think that's huge. So I totally agree with all that stuff, partner. That's great.
Great.
Any new trends in ed tech that you're aware of?
There's lots out there. There's certainly, walk through any sort of vendor floor. You'll see the latest tool, the latest app. You're seeing lots more with virtual reality, augmented reality, and those kinds of things. You're seeing a lot more in terms of communication type tools and things that we can do with parents. At the end of the day, let's focus on what works. And tools are what they are. They're tools and they're resources to accelerate what we're looking for. It's the active use of technology where that key is. That's exploring, designing, creating from a research end. That's what works with ed tech. So any of the tools that are out there, things that come down the pike, just because it's digital does not mean it's any good. Let's focus on the creation, on the design, and those kinds of things that we can see. The good news is products continue to get better. Technology on the whole continues to get a little bit cheaper, which supports our schools in that. So as that, let's not lose sight of why we do what we do. Let's not lose sight of our focus, and that's loving and caring about kids. You can be amazingly innovative with no technology at all, or amazingly traditional with all the technology in the world.
Yep.
And so in saying that,
Digital work beats.
Technology is an amazing accelerator and amplifier. So as you come to MACUL, as you get connected, as you continue to get more and more comfortable with digital stuff yourself, don't forget that what technology is and the role that it plays. It's an amplifier, so it'll amplify great practices. It's an accelerator in that regard, but here's the flip side. It'll also accelerate and speed up the rate of failure when we're not doing it well. That's the flip side we don't often talk about. So let's not lose sight of our why. Let's not lose sight of our purpose. Our number one job is loving and caring about kids. Technology and all that other stuff comes after that. But I'm looking forward to seeing you at MACUL, and we can talk about some of this stuff while we're there.
Fantastic. All right. So, Tom, what's new? What are you doing? What do you got coming up? I mean, I connect with you on a regular basis, so I know the fact that you're sitting in your office is a very rare thing.
I would agree with that. Very rare. Very rare.
What's going on with Tom right now?
So I'm super excited with Future Ready Schools. You know, we just finished our fourth year. It continues to grow. The strands continue to grow. MACUL's a partner in that work. You know, and as we continue to grow those strands, next week we're meeting for our 2019 visioning. Why I'm so excited about Future Ready is it really comes down to its practitioner runs. We have a whole bunch of practitioners coming to Washington, D.C. next week to help outline that vision. You know, Joe Sanfilippo is somebody, he runs the district leadership strand with myself and some other superintendents there as well. Joe and I will be presenting together at MACUL. He'll be coming to DC next week to help to outline and vision what is it that district leaders need to get this work done when we're focused on leadership and culture and redesigning the learning experience and those kinds of things. So I'm super excited about the work at Future Ready Schools, super excited about the practitioners that continue to get involved in that work. Because again, we don't sell anything. We're not here to sell anything. We're here to just raise money to support the great work already happening in schools, to amplify that great work, but to support the encouragement of that. The other thing I'll share, depending on when this airs, we've got Digital Learning Day coming up on February 28th. That's an exciting event. I'm honored to moderate some of that live from Washington, D.C. We always have tens of thousands of viewers on things like that. Why? Because we're amplifying the great work happening through schools, not just on one day, but on every day across the country. And we get to tell some of those stories. So I'm super jazzed up about that.
That is fantastic. And actually, as soon as we're done with this video, I'm sharing it right out. So it's
all right. So that's next Thursday, February 28th.
Fantastic. And you brought up Joe, and you know what? I think he's running circles around both of us, because you know how active I used to be with doing the videos and posting that stuff on Twitter. Joe is just, I think it's daily now, isn't it? I mean, he's getting a little outrageous with the daily videos that he's doing.
Yeah, you know, Joe and I will always give each other a hard time. If you see our interactions on social media, it's probably making fun of each other. But I will say he's one of my best friends, and he is one of the most authentic and real leaders that you will ever meet. He's the exact kind of superintendent that I want for my own children in the school district. And I'm in a great place, so that's not a negative of where I live. Just a compliment to Joe. He's real. He's authentic. If you see him at MACUL, don't be intimidated because it's a face you recognize on social media. Stop him, talk to him, get his insight. He's just one of the best people you'll ever meet. But don't tell him I said that.
No, I won't say a word because, well, last year Joe did the closing keynote for the MACUL conference. We actually had him doing this same video, this same presentation last month, and he actually stepped out of a section he was in at the Florida Tech Conference and did the presentation there and joined us through the Google Hangout YouTube live video like we're doing right now.
Jason, the good thing though, then at least this month is at least a step up from last month. So, all right, go ahead.
Well, because we're getting closer to MACUL, so we the game. But speaking of Joe, and knowing that yes, he's going to be there, you're going to be there. Joe's actually during the admin luncheon is the presenter at the session, so you get to see Joe, and that's the thing, like you just said, Joe is a real guy. Yeah, you see him on social media. Yeah, you know he's an author and he's got all those books out there and does all these keynotes. But like yourself, he's just a real guy. Go up to him, say hi. He's not going to shun you in any way. He's
yeah. If you're watching this video, do not miss that luncheon. He is one of the best people out there in terms of just presenting and keeping it real, but keeping it fun in the process. I know his family really well. He's an amazing dad, and I'm just telling you, if you're watching this, be there at that luncheon because that's the place to be.
And full of energy, and we wouldn't be doing Joe any good service so we didn't do some hashtag Go Crickets.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So, Tom, I don't want to keep you. I appreciate your time. Any last thoughts before we go ahead and sign off to our friends here with MACUL and our SIG admin group?
I will simply say thank you for your work. Your work is insanely hard. Your work is emotional, but our kids are worth it. So thanks for what you do. I'll see you soon, MACUL.
Fantastic. Tom, thank you, and we'll see you in a month.
Have a good one.